The Greyhound bus hissed to a stop at the edge of Hollows Ridge, its doors groaning open to release a single passenger into the crisp Appalachian morning. Richard Nelson stepped onto the cracked pavement, his duffel bag slung over one shoulder, his face unreadable behind mirrored sunglasses. No one greeted him. No one even glanced his way. Good. He hadn't told the town council when he'd arrived, hadn't warned the outgoing chief. He wanted his first glimpse of Hollows Ridge unfiltered. No staged welcomes, no polished lies. And what he saw unsettled him. The town was picturesque, sure. Quaint storefronts, a white steepled church, autumn leaves clinging to ancient oaks. But beneath the postcard charm, something felt off. The way the woman at the diner flinched when a patrol car rolled by. The way the bartender at the Ridgeback shut the blinds when two officers walked in. Richard adjusted his duffel and started walking. He had a precinct to visit. The Hollows Ridge Police Department was a squat brick building with a chipped "To Protect and Serve" sign hanging crookedly by the door. Richard pushed inside and was immediately hit by the stench of stale coffee and sweat. The bullpen was half empty, but the officers present didn't even look up. One, a thick-necked man with a buzz cut, had his boots propped on a desk, scrolling through his phone. Another was laughing too loud at something on his computer. Then came the voice. "Hey," Richard turned. Officer Travis Daniels leaned against a filing cabinet, arms crossed, smirking. His badge gleamed. His teeth were too white. "You lost, old man?" Daniels drawled. "Shelter's 2 blocks down." A few snickers. Still, no one looked up. Richard said nothing. Daniels pushed off the cabinet, swaggering closer. "I said you lost. This ain't a place for vagrants." Richard kept his voice mild. "I'm just here to report something." "Yeah?" Daniels grinned. "Report it to the bums at the park." Laughter now, louder. The buzz-cut officer finally glanced over, amused. Richard didn't react. Daniels leaned in, close enough that Richard could smell the mint gum and stale whiskey on his breath. Then he spat, wet, deliberate, right on Richard's cheek. The bullpen erupted, howls, slapped knees. One officer actually wiped tears from his eyes. Richard didn't move, didn't blink. He pulled a handkerchief from his pocket and wiped his face slowly, methodically. "Is this how you treat everyone who walks through those doors?" he asked quietly. Daniel smirked. "Only the ones who don't belong." Richard nodded. Then he turned and walked out. Behind him, the laughter swelled. They had no idea. 10 minutes later, Captain Harris stood at the front of the precinct, face grim. "Listen up," he barked. "We've got an announcement." Grumbles. A few officers shuffled in from the break room. "As of today," Harris said, "we have a new chief of police." Murmurs. Glances exchanged. The side door opened. Richard stepped through, but not in jeans, not in sneakers, in full uniform, badge gleaming. The room froze. Daniel's coffee cup slipped from his fingers, hitting the floor with a crack. Richard didn't smile. He walked to the podium, set down a file, and let the silence stretch. Then, "My name is Richard Nelson, and as of this moment, every one of you answers to me." A beat. "This morning, I walked into this precinct as a civilian. What I saw was a disgrace." His gaze locked onto Daniels. "I saw cruelty, arrogance, a complete abandonment of the oath you swore." Daniels' face drained of color. "Officer Daniels," Richard said, "you spat on a man today. You spat on your chief, but worse, you proved this department has forgotten who it serves." He opened the file. "Effective immediately, Officer Daniels is suspended without pay. Internal Affairs will review his conduct and the conduct of every officer who laughed." The room exploded. "You can't do that," someone shouted. "The hell?" Richard raised a hand. Silence fell like a blade. "This isn't a negotiation," he said. "This is your wake-up call, and if you don't like it," he let the words hang. "There's the door." No one moved. Richard turned to leave, then paused. "Oh, and Daniels?" The officer looked up, jaw clenched. "Clean up your coffee." By noon, the whole town knew. The new chief went undercover. Daniels got wrecked. Things are changing. But Richard wasn't celebrating. Back in his temporary office, he spread out the files he'd requested. Old cases, complaints, disciplinary records. The deeper he dug, the worse it got. Excessive force reports buried, evidence logs missing. A suspicious overdose in a holding cell ruled accidental, despite the victim's hands being cuffed behind his back. And then there was Mayor Langford's name popping up too often in too many sealed documents. Richard leaned back, rubbing his temples. This wasn't just a few bad cops. This was rot. Deep, systemic, and protected. His phone buzzed. Unknown number. "Welcome to Hollows Ridge, Chief. The T